The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star.
Is a lovely Tuesday to listen to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Haley Sutton, Aisha Morrison, Jess Navarez, back with you on our Tuesday edition of this podcast. We've got a lot to talk about when it comes to the Giants game last week. We've also got some things to talk about when it comes to the Colts game next week. We've got a special guest in our hot seat, so a lot of things to get started with. Ladies, it's been a minute since we've had a chance to chat. The Cowboys are coming off that mini bye. They played on Thursday, beat the Giants once again, 28-20. I said in my 5 points recap last week, I know, or earlier this week, it's a rivalry, right? But I said, what rivalry? Because it's just getting silly at this point to consider the Cowboys a rival when Dak Prescott is quarterback. But we'll talk about that later. Cowboys coming off of a 12-day, 3-game stretch where they went 2-1. They are 4-1 since Dak returned. A lot of really positive performances in that game, but I want to just start right there. Aisha, I'll go to you first. Who is your player of the game and why?
Of the game, I would say CeeDee Lamb. I think I said CeeDee Lamb yesterday. Just he is starting to take over games and spots when they need a guy to continue to make plays, and his resurgence, and also too looking back at the game, he's starting to get that attention. Mm-hmm. He's starting to get that, let me make sure I have an extra safety over there. And that, in turn, is opening up things for Michael Gallup and those guys to get going. So CeeDee Lamb emerging in this last couple of games has been big for me.
Yesterday I said Michael Gallup, but I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here because I've been sitting on this all morning. I'm gonna say Leighton Vander Esch is my player of the game because 2 weeks ago we're talking about the run defense and how that's kind of this defense's kryptonite, and I feel like Leighton Vander Esch came in with a very vintage-like Wolf Hunter approach to fixing this run defense, and his tackling is so worth noting. I went back and I watched some of the key points from Thursday's game. This man's tackling has improved so much over the course of the last few weeks, but even just since last season. You look at how he tackles, he's not tackling forward anymore. It's not giving that extra yardage to, those receivers or those backs, but Leighton Vander Esch is really impressing me. He's leading the league right now in tackles, I believe, and he just is coming out swinging this season, and I love to see that for him.
I love that you said CD. That is my honorable mention, and not only because, but in the locker room, whenever everyone on the sideline was like, bro, you have 2 hands, use them. So, of course, the natural question to ask in the locker room is, why were you not using 2 hands?
Such a good question, buddy.
And CD said, quite frankly, they were holding my left hand all day. Like, I had to make the play, I had to do something, so I was using 1 hand. So we love a guy who is confident with just 1 hand as well as both of them. He does very well with both. I also sat on this a lot because I wanted to naturally go defense. I think the easy question or the easy answer was Micah Parsons. You know, getting 2 sacks continues to be a menace, but I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that. And so I picked a group. I picked the tight end group, and we're going to break it down in just a minute why, but I think this tight end group is so special and at this point so necessary to the Cowboys' success this season. They have such a secret weapon in that group. I asked Kellen Moore about it yesterday when it comes to having 4 tight ends on an active roster who can come in and make an impact, what that allows him to do creatively, and here's what he had to say.
I think it allows us, certainly we can have some depth in those positions, so we're not one guy away. Sometimes the tight end needs a break and whatnot. When you have 4 of them, we can go into with some of those packages knowing if one guy's out, we still got enough depth there, and so that's huge. And those guys just do such a good job. They're really smart players, so they can handle all these different roles. And we're going to run the football in it, but we can also spread people out, and we can play in empty sets with those tight ends, and they can run the receiver route tree. And so it's been fun for those guys to see their growth, especially the young guys, to see them grow in those roles.
So that's Kellen on the creativity. And after hearing that yesterday, I kind of wanted to dig a little bit more. I took a page out of your book, so I hope you're proud of me in this. And this is some of the research that I found from this. This all comes from Next Gen Stats. So the Cowboys have played 54.6% of their snaps in 11 personnel, which means they have one running back, one tight end, and 3 wide receivers on the field. Their next highest would be 12 personnel at 25.6%. But they have a 53% success rate in plays in that 12 personnel grouping. And here's where it gets fun. The more tight ends they have on the field, the higher rate of success they have when it comes to converting plays. They're getting an average of 8 yards per play, 6 yards per play, as opposed to the 3, the 2, whatever it takes. So my question for you guys, how is having that many skilled tight ends on a roster bode well for the Cowboys? How can they utilize that group going into this last, arguably most important part of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the 11 personnel that you're talking about, it doesn't surprise me that the percentage is somewhat close. But with 12 personnel, the tight ends being receiving options, I really believe is what tips the tide, and them also having the ability to block and get out and also make and catch passes. But with 11 personnel, you're relying on those wide receivers to create separation and to get open on their own to some degree. So I understand that with them being in for extra blocking, teams don't know if this guy's going to break out for a quick out or if he's really in there run blocking those plays, and you see that with Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot. They're getting DBs and linebackers to bite because they think that this is a run play, and they're selling it, and that's allowing them to get out and be receiving options. You got a vertical threat and a guy that has athleticism. There's versatility in this room, and then with Sean McCune, he has the ability also to be a passing option, but his blocking has been so important to what they do, and it's also helped with this offensive line and to drive this offensive line's success. So that makes so much sense that they're seeing so much more success with more tight ends on the field.
Yeah, and I think, Aisha hit the nail right on the head, but the versatility. Yes. It allows for more versatility. It allows for more of a threat, and we've talked about how, this Cowboys offense, they don't have that one threat that, an OBJ might bring where it instills fear into opposing defenses. When you have a core tight end group like this, you don't know what you're going to get. Like Aisha said, oh, hey, Fergie's on the field. What are we getting with Fergie? Are we going to get hurdled? Are we going to get some pass pro in there? And, something I know Tony Pollard has been a little scrutinized on is the pass pro. So I think if anything can come in and help take that off of him, help the pass pro a little bit, that is always a great option. Of course, it opens up the RPO, the run pass option for Dak. And most importantly, I think when we're talking about this identity of this offense, it's the run game, right? And so when you have these tight ends that can not only go in and obviously be an option for more of a wide receiver core, but that pass pro unity, oh man, you have Zeke and you have Tony Pollard. You have that 1-2 punch that is going to just eat yardage completely throughout the game. So I think it just allows for more versatility within the Cowboys offense overall.
Here's what I like the most about this group. We talked last week about, from a defensive standpoint, how do you help the run game? It's by doing your job. I don't think there's a single group in this locker room that knows and understands their roles better than the tight ends. You have Dalton Schultz, the guy who's going to find the end zone. He's old reliable for Dak Prescott. You got Jake Ferguson, who you have to respect at this point. He's big, he's athletic. He'll juke you if you're the Eagles. He'll leap you if you are the Giants. I'm excited to see what he will do coming up this week against the Colts, so you have to respect him as a playmaker. You've got Peyton Hendershot, who's fast, potentially a deep threat. We just talked about that before the game, and he can run like a running back, right? And then you have Sean McCune, who comes in and can block.
Just does his job.
Every single one of these guys you have to respect because they provide such a different facet of what it means to be a tight end. And I hope rather that the Cowboys will lean on them a little bit more as options and providing that spark for the offense, because we've talked a lot about where the offense has struggled. They just didn't have a spark. You just said it.
Right.
So hopefully with this tight end group, I think it will start to kickstart maybe a little bit. We'll see against the Colts.
I also think something worth noting too is this tight end group is so close knit, not just on the field obviously, but you see off the field on the sounds of the sideline and all of that. But you even take it back a notch. you remember that closeness with Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin, when Jarwin was still on the team. And so I think what's awesome to see is Dalton Schultz really bringing that same energy and that same tight-knit closeness that he had with Jarwin into this younger tight end core and really showing them the ropes. And knowing that, yes, this is a team thing, right? And not being selfish with those reps, because he very easily could be like, hey guys, I'm the vet in the room, this is my stuff. But the fact that they know how to spread out so well and just not be selfish with those reps, I think that's incredible.
And Dalton talked about that after the game when he was asked, are you okay with this type of football that you're playing in that tight end room? And he said, yeah, my favorite part about these guys is that we do it together. Yeah. We champion. I think the celebration really embodied who they are as a group. You know, Peyton gets the touchdown, but he turns around before anything and he's waving his guys over and gets the entire group to celebrate. So I love that for them. I hope to see them continue. I believe that they will. So we will keep an eye on that. Of course, with the good always comes the bad. It was not a perfect performance from the Cowboys' perspective. Jess, I was trying my hardest to find something in the building that would even remotely look like shot glasses, because I was going to bring them down here.
I have water.
And I know we laugh about it a lot, but again, doing some digging, we talk a lot about the penalties and how much of an impact they can make on the game. Thursday's game in particular, that it really was an issue. 13 flags cost them 86 yards. They have 36 pre-snap penalties this season alone. So it kind of got me thinking, they led the league last year in penalties. Where do they stand out this year? They have been better, but how much better? Well, not much. They're in second. Only second to the Denver Broncos.
We're not first.
We're not first. We're second in total penalties in 2022 with 83. Last season was 127, so we're not that far off.
And they stack up like, when you go through them, it's like 5 this game, 2 this game, 8. What in the world?
13.
Yeah. And it's like, some games they've had a couple spans of games where it's like, oh, okay, and then it's just like boom,
it's
like
today,
we're better. Like Thursday, boom, 13 penalties.
It's almost like they feel like they need to make up. They're like, man, we only had 3 last week.
Stop.
You know what? I love me a good pun, and y'all know this. And Aisha's heard this before. Haley, I haven't told you this one
yet. Puns and penalties,
So I was
baby.
talking
Let's
to a football genius a couple weeks ago about my knack for keeping track of penalties on the podcast. And, he said, it's like mustard on the lettuce. So lettuce is green. You have mustard that goes on the lettuce.
I quit.
Well, and it was more.
Jazz, do we have a sound effect for the mustard on the lettuce?
It worked out better because it was the Vikings game with the 40 burger. So that's why it kind of tied together for a burger and mustard and lettuce. Yeah. But this week, you could also keep it food related for Thanksgiving. However,
Jazzy, run me that sound.
No, Jazzy, no sound. But what I was going to say, see, I think she agreed with me on that one.
No, she didn't.
Jazzy. No, so what I was going to say, though, is you were talking about the total count, and of course, Chris sent me this incredible website. Thank you, Chris, our other producer, for sending me this golden ticket of all things penalties. But 83 penalties so far this season for 626 yards. That is the problem. So we always joke, and the running joke is I talk about penalties, but when you have 83 penalties that have cost you 626 yards this season, that's a huge issue. Because to me, my biggest problem with the amount of penalties against the Giants is, yes, it's the Giants. You can get away with 13 penalties and obviously still pull out a win. When you're talking later on down the road, when you're talking, potential playoff games and things like that essentially is what cost the Cowboys a playoff win against the 49ers last season, when you look at that. So my thing is, you're already stacking up that yardage, the penalties, the counts of everything. I don't want it to come back around and be a full circle moment that we do not want to see that costs them a bigger game down the road. That's my biggest issue with it.
Yeah. I agree. And like I said, I know we pick fun at Jess about it, but it is a serious conversation. We pick fun just because we She says the word penalties
because
all the
they
time.
love me.
But it is true. Now, Mike McCarthy did speak about it yesterday, particularly when it came to the pre-snap penalties. I think that's what he kind of was alluding to. And he said, we have a lot of pre-snap penalties because we're trying to be aggressive. We're trying to get the guys to all be on the same page when it comes to Dak's new cadence. We're trying to make sure that we're being aggressive. That's kind of been the running theme for this offense is aggressive. And I think Kellen Moore talked about that yesterday too. But I guess my question is, and Aisha, I'll go to you for this, how much is too much when it comes to that aggressiveness? What's the risk reward of, we're gonna have these pre-snap penalties, but I'm okay with it because. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Does that make sense?
I think that's what they're trying to find the balance right now. What's not helping is the turnovers too.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Well, maybe you can overcome the turnover, but then to have the turnover and the penalty, or the penalty that causes the turnover and then the turnover and they score points off of it. Because if you look back at even the Green Bay game and some of the Giants game, like they scored because of the penalties. Mm-hmm. And so the Cowboys have had this problem for a while, just getting out of their own way and being able to make something happen after they've gotten behind the sticks. They struggle when they're behind the sticks. Now, granted, Dak has made up for some of that stuff because you were in 3rd and longs this game and stuff because of the penalties, and he was able to do that. But again, depending on that and that aggressiveness puts you in situations where you could have turnovers again. So right now, I feel like they're just trying to find the balance, and it's a difficult place to be in, to be like, I want to be aggressive, but there's bad that comes out of that.
Yeah, and I'm just going down this list of players within the Cowboys team that has the most penalties. Tyler Smith having the most so far this season with 8. He has 6 offensive holding penalties and 4 false start penalties. That is, to me, on-the-job training. And I'm not making excuses for him, but we hear that a lot when it comes to this coaching staff, is talking about the on-the-job training. I think Tyler Smith has held up his own very well this season. So, to me, okay, we're going to see that, but this is the time of the season those things need to start getting a little bit more hunkered down on, because it could cost you a game. Yeah. And I think what I really appreciated about Mike McCarthy yesterday talking about penalties was he said, we went through every single pre-snap penalty that we have had this season, and we watched it over and over again. So for me, I think the biggest question is, how do you coach that? How do you fix that? What's the solution? It's that. It's that. It is watching and kind of just learning the muscle memory to not make those mistakes anymore. So to me, Mike McCarthy's doing his due diligence in making sure that it's taken care of. It's just, you have to execute.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
I am disappointed that you guys didn't bring up Zach Martin's.
We did yesterday.
Oh, yeah, because
did.
It was blasphemy.
But, yeah.
You can't pancake. I mean, that's like.
I know.
It's one of those things where, is that a pancake or is it a hole?
Everybody in the press box, when we saw the flag go out, and we're like, oh, great, another holding penalty. But when the announcer in the press box was like, holding on Zach Martin, everybody, I mean, if we all had water in our mouths, we all would have spit it out. It was nuts.
Why?
Yeah.
Take it back.
So that was interesting. So a lot to clean up for the Cowboys when it comes to penalties. I'm sure they'll start addressing that. We'll get another chance to speak with Mike McCarthy on Wednesday. We are going to take our first break, but when we come back, we're going to get a chance to speak with our hot seat special guest here on Girls Talk Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Pepsi-loving football fans, it's time we had a lesson in trash talk. And I'm not talking about that stuff that happens on the field. What I'm talking about is trash, and it's the only thing that belongs in your garbage can. No, recycling might not be as thrilling as converting a 4th and long, but next time you're thinking about throwing that Pepsi Zero Sugar bottle away, just cap it back up and pretend you're down by 6 with the recycling bin wide open. Know the difference? Make a difference. Be a team player and recycle. Visit PepsiTrashTalk.com to learn more.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We have another phenomenal guest joining us in our Hot Seat Tuesday. But first, we're going to go to Jess with a phenomenal read.
Well, get cozy and join us at the Star for our most festive movie night yet. Movie nights at the Star, presented by Monument Realty. Realty, I do that every time. On November 30th, features a Christmas classic, Elf. The show is free and open to the public beginning at 7 p.m. So for more info, you can visit thestarinfrisco.com. I love Elf.
Parents going to be tackling more than them kids.
I know. It's not a good
I'll be out
anymore.
there acting for Elf. I'm done.
Well, guys, it is Tuesday. We did miss our hot seat guest last week because of the condensed week with Thanksgiving, but I'm so excited to get back on track, and I am so excited for our guest. We have Nikki Harrison, Director of Programming and Traffic. A little bit about Nikki before we give her the mic. She's in her 17th season with the Dallas Cowboys. She does programming and traffic, which I'm really excited to ask what that actually means because I always wonder. She went to the University of North Texas.
Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green. And she's also done a little podcasting as well, so this is nothing unusual or uncomfortable for you. Nikki, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I have to say it's weird being on this side. Not asking the questions, but being asked the questions. So
I
I'm
feel
excited.
like we feel that way too sometimes, just having to be vulnerable and be in that situation.
Yeah.
But we thank you for your time and expertise. I'm going to kick this off with just that. I've worked in newsrooms, so we've always have a traffic coordinator as well. And
Yes, ma'am.
being in a newsroom, I always just assume traffic cars. But that is not the case, I would guess, here.
That is correct.
So just tell us a little bit about what you do and what
Absolutely.
traffic means.
So traffic, okay, traffic is making sure all of the sponsored elements are in the show and go where they go, like those reads that you have to read. Yes, and all of the commercials. So I manage all of that for English radio, English TV, digital signage here at the Star and at the stadium.
What does and this is always a broad question and I love it because it just leads to so many avenues, but what does a average day for Miss Nikki Harrison look like?
An average day is logs, because I'm creating all of the logs for our programming that's happening the very next day and for the upcoming game. So, for example, we'll have programming on all of our flagship station tomorrow, and we've got TV shows. We've got a ton, we've got a ton of video content that's being produced. I manage all of the podcasts that take place. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if y'all saw y'all can't see my face. I was like, oh no, oh Lord.
Yes, ma'am. And then as I'm preparing for the next day, I'm also preparing for the next game. So we've got a game on Sunday versus the Indianapolis Colts, and we've got digital logs that have to get done, TV logs, radio logs. It's logs.
Logs.
Yes.
Logs. Nikki, how did you get to be at this point in your career? Give us a little lowdown on, what you thought maybe you would be doing and then how this all ended up coming to light.
Okay, so as Haley said, I graduated from UNT.
Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green. And
Requirement.
so you guys may not know, because you are a lot younger than me, but MTV at the time showed music videos when I was in school.
Yes.
And I wanted to be an MTV VJ.
Oh,
yes, ma'am.
I watch those every morning.
I could see that.
I watch
was
those
ready.
every morning before school.
Yep.
I was planning to move to New York and take Lala's job, but I visited New York for the first time, and I was like, oh, no. I love the city, but I was like, I don't think I could live here like this by myself. So while I was still in school, I interned for the Dallas Mavericks. And, I never had aspirations of going into sports. I never played sports. I was a band nerd. I took dance classes, played the piano. So sports was not on my radar at all. But once I interned for the Mavs, I loved it. And one thing I would say is you build relationships, and the people that you meet help you get to the next step. And that's how I got here.
Yep.
Been here ever since.
I feel that way about Kyle because Kyle Yeomans, who does all of our podcasts, he's the same way. I give him credit for helping me be in this chair. So I love the connections there. Oh, I just threw my
Your pen loved the connections too.
So do you have a read that you remember that was like memorable, that was maybe a little off the hinges, or it was something very funny that resonated with you or was important to you that you remember?
From what?
I don't know. Just I guess possibly just one of the reads that's come out that's maybe stuck with you, like this was it, or some type of promotion that you've done that really stuck with you.
Okay, wow.
Or meant something to you.
Wow, that's a very good question. And you know what typically happens is I tend to think of what has happened most recently.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what I mean? So probably one of the most recent things that I've been a part of was I got to MC for our community relations department. Emily, you guys had Emily
we had
Robbins
Emily on.
Yes. For her team, I MC'd a women's workshop at AT&T Stadium, and it was just helping women who were looking for a second chance, you know, trying to get back on their feet. Yes. And anytime I get the opportunity to be around women, to empower women, I'm all for it. Sign me up. Sign me up twice.
I love it.
You know, and so that happened about a month ago. And it was great. You know, you walk away like, I did something good today.
I love that.
Yeah.
Going off of that, thank you, Jazzy. Going off of that, while I was reading through your bio, one of the things that resonated with me really well is your passion for storytelling. That's the reason why I got into this business, and it's the premise of what I do in our pregame show every week is just reminding these people that, like, the Cowboys players who you root for and sometimes boo, they also have families, and you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Where does that connection come from you? What drives you to be a storyteller and to share those type of messages and stories?
Well, because that is an excellent question. Because I love seeing the human side. You know, sometimes we forget that, like what you just said, they have a family. They are human beings. And what we're doing is we're critiquing what they do
as humans.
As humans, exactly. So they make mistakes, we make mistakes, you know. Yeah. But yes, I just love seeing the human side, and I feel like when you can tell a story, start, middle, and end, that just wraps it up in a way that just is so feel good. I don't know.
It's my favorite part. It's actually one of my favorite parts about when the Cowboys draft a player and I start going into looking in depth with them. I start with what's their rapport, what do people say about them, their high school coaches, and then also their family life, because I think so much of that plays into what they become as a player and what they put in and the time they put in their story. So
100%.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
Nikki, so as you know on this podcast, we are all about women empowerment and making sure that the next generation of women know that although this is a male-dominated industry, we're changing that and we're changing that drive. What is your advice to any of those little girls who maybe that don't think that your avenue is possible for them? What would you tell them?
Oh, I love that. I would tell them to, number one, don't be afraid to dream big. Whatever it is you want to do, you can do it. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't. You can only be the person that can tell you that you can't. And what I said earlier is building those relationships. They are so important because you never know who you're talking to could be the person that takes you to that next level, catapults you to that next level. So, yeah.
I love that. Catapult to the next level. Oh, I love that.
I do too. So you're an Ohio native, is that correct?
Akron, yes ma'am.
Akron, Ohio, home of LeBron James.
Yes.
So are we LeBron fans?
All the way.
Perfect. What was the path from Ohio to North Texas, and then, obviously, you're here with the Cowboys, but what brought you to Texas?
Really simple. My parents. So Akron is like Detroit, like Toledo. It's an old town, and when industry moved out, parents had to figure things out, and my father went back to school, and at the time, Texas, especially North Texas, was booming with jobs, and we moved down. My mom's a teacher, so she could have worked anywhere.
What does she teach?
She's retired now, but she taught elementary. She taught every grade except kindergarten. Yes.
My mom is a teacher right now. Anytime I get a chance to talk to anybody about teachers, Malik Hooker told me his mom was also a teacher yesterday, so I'm like, yes.
We have so much in common.
I know. Go me green, go teachers, go LeBron, all the things.
I love it.
What would you say, two-part question here.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the most challenging part of your job? What is the most rewarding part of your job?
Ooh, gosh, you guys come with the questions. Okay, I would say the most challenging part of my job is not being able to control things. I like to control things sometimes, and when I'm waiting on things from other people, but I've been doing it long enough to where I don't even let it affect me like it used to. The greatest thing about my job is, seriously, honestly, the people I work with. I mean, it's a gift to be able to work with you ladies, to be able to work with the people upstairs, the people down here. I mean, and it should be. You go to work with people, you spend your time with them more than you spend with your own family. You should enjoy it, you know? So that's the greatest part of my job.
And you have the added benefit sometimes where your husband comes in and sits in the chair that you're sitting in as well. What's it like getting to work with Heckma? I mean, obviously you don't work directly with him, but for both of you guys to be in the building often and seeing each other in the hallways, that kind of thing.
Wait, what?
You're like, back up, hold up.
Breaking news.
Then it's just like breaking news for Aisha.
It's not really breaking news.
Tater tots. I didn't know that this whole time.
Yes.
All right. Well, the more you know.
I'm sorry. I was mind blown.
So at first I have to say it was weird. You know, it really was. It was, you know how you feel like you have your space?
Yeah.
And I felt like this was my space.
So honest.
But it's really, really great. And it's great to see him do something that he absolutely loves. And it comes so easily. I mean, he talked football in his sleep, you know, so it's really great.
We love a good power couple on the podcast. Yeah. You know, Nikki, what is something that you hope to do in down the road for your career? What is a goal you have for yourself personally and maybe professionally as well?
Oh, wow, that's so good. Okay, so I was recently promoted, so my role broadened.
Yes, roll with the promotion.
And I'll be honest with you, I was at a point like this summer, not this summer, last summer, I was at a point where I was like, okay, is this it, or do we try to go for something further? And when it was presented to me, I was like, wow. That was the first time I ever really considered the fact that it could be bigger. And now I'm thinking it could be bigger than what this is.
Yeah, I know that's right.
So the sky's the limit, you know. I'm just going to continue to learn and grow and get better. And who knows?
Yeah, we are here for involvement.
Yes.
Thank you.
Last question
Yes,
here.
ma'am.
We were talking before about what we did for Thanksgiving, specifically what you did for Thanksgiving. And you brought up camping.
Yes.
I think the general consensus, do you camp?
I've never camped ever
Do you
in my
camp?
life.
I camped before.
I don't like camping.
I
So give us the Harrison rundown.
Okay.
Why are we camping on Thanksgiving?
So we've been doing it now for about
Why?
6 years. Now, they make fun of me because I say camping, but they say it's glamping.
I love good glamping.
Okay.
Because
We
we're
love
in a
good
cabin. We got TVs. We
Yeah,
got
there you
Wi-Fi.
go.
You know what I'm saying? We're not rough. I've roughed it.
That no count.
Don't rough it.
I've done it. I've done the tent. I've done the camper. And I'm like, I don't need to do that. I've done the bathroom down the way. I don't need to do that
I
anymore.
don't got nothing to prove.
Exactly.
Lamp away, girl.
Yes.
Lamp away.
I'm like, we're camping. We're in the forest. So it's great. We're in the forest.
You're in nature somehow,
Yes.
some way. It counts.
I love that. Nikki Harrison, Director of Programming and Traffic.
Yes.
I love having this opportunity on Tuesdays to get to know. We've met so many incredible, strong, powerful women who have all made such an impact on this I almost said this program, but this franchise.
Yes.
And you are no different. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for
Thank
being
you
in
for
our
being
Hot
here.
Seat Tuesday.
Thank you for having me. Well, I just have to say, because I watch all of the podcasts, you ladies are fabulous. You do
Thank
an
you.
excellent job. Jazzy Jazz in the back.
Jazzy
Yes,
Jazz.
Working
Jazzy.
it. I'm so proud, and it's really, really excellent. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Nikki.
Thank you. Nikki Harrison, everybody. We are going to take our second and final break here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. When we come back, we're going to get a little bit into the Colts, and we're going to talk about some breaking news from the Dallas Cowboys.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that sixth ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Pepsi-loving football fans, it's time we had a lesson in trash talk. And I'm not talking about that stuff that happens on the field. What I'm talking about is trash, and it's the only thing that belongs in your garbage can. No, recycling might not be as thrilling as converting a 4th and long, but next time you're thinking about throwing that Pepsi Zero Sugar bottle away, just cap it back up and pretend you're down by 6 with the recycling bin wide open. Know the difference? Make a difference. Be a team player and recycle. Visit PepsiTrashTalk.com to learn more.
With Smoothie King's original Angel Food and new Angel Food Slim without added sugar, you no longer have to choose between treating yourself and hitting your goals this summer. You don't have to choose between great taste and feeling great. Because at Smoothie King, every blend is made with whole fruits and no syrups, so you can satisfy your cravings without compromise. The only choice you will need to make is which one is best for you. Try our classic Angel Food or the new Angel Food Slim, blended without added sugar. Smoothie King, rule the day.
Doing some singing before that here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Jess?
'Tis the season for Dallas Cowboys holiday youth camps presented by Invisalign. Registration for one-day football and dance academy camps are now open, so don't miss your chance to send your little athlete to camp at AT&T Stadium on December 20th and 21st. Register today at dallascowboys.com/academy and use code XMAS25 to get $25 off. You know I love a good deal, so that makes me happy.
Well, the Cowboys made a deal today, although I wouldn't call it a deal. It was it's a done deal. I just know you did not boo me after we talked about mustard on the lettuce.
I loved it. No, I'm so proud of the puns that we've been adding in here. You know I love a good pun. Haley, I love
I'm capable of saying the puns.
That was beautiful. That was beautifully executed. I love that.
The point is, the Dallas Cowboys have waived defensive end Terrell Basham, the former third rounder. He was drafted to the Colts back in 2017. He played minimal snaps this season, but he never quite found his footing after getting an injury in that first game against Tampa Bay. So we're not really surprised, I don't think, in the wave. No. Am I right in saying that? No one's really surprised?
I guess I'm not surprised, but I'm still a little like, it kind of wasn't, for me, it was unexpected. Maybe I didn't expect to see his name. Because Terrell Basham is a player. Like, he's above average player, absolutely, at DN. So I actually expect for someone to probably pick him up. So it just shows the depth that you have on this defensive line, especially at DN. And then you brought in Tack McKinley. Maybe there's something there they saw from him.
Yeah, I just think the move for me, that is such a hard position room to be in because there's so many weapons.
So many humans.
Yeah. You know what I mean? There's so many weapons and there's so many impactful humans. So I kind of feel as if he got the short end of the stick only because of the circumstances he was dealt this season.
Yeah. Injury, not being able to be on the field.
Yeah, you just felt
matters.
too far behind too
And
quick.
you also have Dante Fowler and Sam Williams who have been really stepping up. And, it's just interesting because yesterday during Mike McCarthy's press conference, he was asked, is anybody's 21 practice day window about to be activated?
So
Didn't really give an answer.
He told us he would let us know tomorrow.
Right. Didn't really say yes or no yet. However, not surprised to see a move being made this week with the talks of moving people up, maybe out of IR. We wish him well. We wish him well.
So that leads me to my next question. Realistically, and I emphasize that word realistically because we all have our hopes and dreams of what we would like to see on this roster.
Sure.
But realistically, when we waive Terrell Basham, what does that clear the way for in terms of a roster spot?
Oh, man.
Well,
it depends. Which way are we taking this?
I have no idea of it because I heard Brian Broaddus talking about the timeline in which they're looking to elevate Tyron, which doesn't seem like a this week thing.
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, what else could it possibly be?
He could also
a reason why they would be doing this today.
Yeah.
mean, I'm not going to say it.
Also, look,
I'm not gonna say
I'm not going to say the obvious thing that's coming to everybody's mind here, but you also have names like James Washington. You also, there's other things here, people. Don't jump to conclusions, but it's an interesting series of events with the timing. That is,
I'm going to say it. I think it has something to do with Odell Beckham.
There you go, Haley. You can say it.
I'm gonna say I teed you ladies up to be in the spotlight.
You can say it.
You didn't want it. I'll take it.
I didn't want that.
So, and I think it's interesting too because, yesterday Stephen Jones was like very ominous and not talking about the situation. Jerry came on the radio today talking all about it. 5 questions he was asked about the Odell Beckham Jr. The first was, did the incident in Miami have any impact? Not really. I think that's kind of been, the norm, especially even Mike McCarthy talked about that earlier. He just talked about, his overall compatibility with the team would be very good. The biggest thing to me is that he's coming for a visit. And I think what stands out to me about the Odell Beckham thing before we kind of transition into a quick chat about the Colts, but he's coming here last. You know what I mean? Like he's got Giants, Bills, and then Cowboys.
Save the best for last.
Save the best for last.
Don't let them leave the building.
To me, I just feel
lock it down.
Not in a bad way.
I know. I'm like, oh my goodness.
That was kind of scary.
Don't let them go.
Nobody let Aisha in the building on
Look,
Monday.
if Odell Beckham, you find him tied up somewhere, you know who did it. It was Aisha.
You have proof.
But I just think, all of the stars kind of feel like I can't even look at you.
The stars are aligning for
you know what I mean?
Odell. The star.
So just something to keep an eye out for. And we'll hear from Mike McCarthy one more time tomorrow. Someone is going to ask him about it. So we'll have a little bit more clarity on that. But before we go, I want to quickly talk about the Colts. As we always do on Wednesdays, we'll dive even more into that matchup and what challenges they present. But just off the top, something that has stood out to me. A few weeks ago, we were talking about how scary the back half of the season was for the Cowboys, specifically when it came to stopping the run, because the last 5 or so games of the season, every single one of those teams had running backs that were a threat. It started with Dalvin Cook. Last week was Saquon Barkley. This week will be, why am I blanking on his name? Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, I was going to say Jonathan Jenkins. I don't even know who that is. Not a real person. But what's interesting to me is they've sort of met those expectations. And I know the conversation initially was, when it came to the Vikings game, it was, did they really fix the run defense? They just got out to a big lead and then, were able to, punch the gas ever since. And then all of a sudden last week, they're holding Saquon Barkley to 39 yards on 11 attempts. So when I look at this, and I asked Malik Hooker about this yesterday just for more clarity, was the Green Bay game a fluke? Was it, what was it? How did you guys adjust that? And he's kind of said it point blank. We've just been doing our assignments.
There you go.
And something to me that I just thought was so interesting that he added to that as well when it comes to why run defense is really simple when you look at it. He said, if everybody does their job, the run doesn't get through. But when just one person messes up their assignment, it shifts everybody out of whack.
Yeah.
And he said up until recently, that's been the issue. It's been one person or two person, and not like the same person. He wasn't, pointing fingers or whatever, but it's been one person, 2 people not hitting that assignment, not getting to their gap, not properly setting that edge, and as a result, now the run's getting through. Mm-hmm. So my question as we wrap this up, when you look at Jonathan Taylor, he's got nearly 3,000 yards over the last 2 seasons. He was really impressive last year. This year, the Colts have kind of been a hodgepodge of things. Last night, he had 20 carries for 86 yards. He did have a touchdown, but he's only got 4 touchdowns, I believe, this season. Is this another game where we can see the run defense evolve another level? Do we see them thrive a little bit? Do we think Jonathan Taylor is a struggle? Just your initial thoughts on that. And like I said, we'll dive into this more tomorrow.
He's a guy that can run at you fast. He has cutting ability. He has breakaway speed. Jonathan Taylor can definitely bruise up your defense. But with what's happening with the Colts offensive line, it's very odd because I wholeheartedly remember them being one of the better offensive lines, but they are really struggling to get pushed up front. So if your DBs come and play like they did last week and tackle at the edges, if your linebackers continue to play forward, and also too the DTs I felt like played pretty well in this past game against the Giants, I think that they can definitely hold him in check. Also, they're going to be looking to lean on the run a lot with what they have going on at quarterback right now.
It's a mess, girl. It's a mess.
And they're almost one-dimensional coming into this game, so I would definitely see the Cowboys defense hopefully having some success against them.
Yeah, I think containing the edges is key here, and for the run defense. But also, when you're looking at the Colts offense as a whole, what is their identity right now? They don't have one.
Jeff Saturday.
There you go. Well, boo. No, but what I'm saying is the Cowboys defense has a very big opportunity to really, really amplify and take themselves to the next level, not necessarily because of what the Colts have or don't have, but because they have another shot at getting the on-the-job practice, preparing them for later on, when the Eagles game does roll around here in the next few weeks. But something else I did want to mention was Jelani Woods, tight end for the Colts, going to be something else I do want to deep dive into tomorrow to talk about, because as my co-host Brandon on the Writer's Block said, he is like a human giraffe.
He was my guy in the draft. He was a guy in the draft, and so Jaron Curse coming back, if he's going to play this week with that separated shoulder, that is definitely a shoulder injury or whatever he had going on, is a matchup to be looking for, because Jelani's a big guy.
Yeah, so I'll dive deep into that tomorrow, but just a little teaser there for what's to come on Girls Talk, Boys Talk tomorrow.
I love that. Something else I want us to talk about tomorrow, December football. We've talked a lot about September football, but December football coming up. That's a really good tease. Ladies, this has been such an insightful, such a good conversation. I love sitting here with you ladies and just talking football, talking personnel, talking OBJ, all the good stuff. That'll do it for us here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, but we will see you tomorrow. Be sure to tune in. We got a lot to dive into with this matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. We'll see you then.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!